Jared, thanks very much for your time today. Most people would know you better as your handle, shoe name, rather than Jared. I'm really looking forward and I'm really excited to having you here in Australia next year for our event, ARCHICON. I think the time and effort that you put into ArchiCAD, pulling it apart and sharing it through your blog and through your YouTube channel, and also the Graphisoft US blog, is synonymous. You know, the amount of people, the amount of following you have is just, I think, almost you know, some of the highest in the world. I think you could be attributed to probably my birth in the social media and public realm when it comes to ArchiCAD, with those guest blog posts you put up for me back in February of last year, or this year, and it was I guess the start of a very big roller coaster of 2014 as to where I've been. So I have to thank you for that. But I guess the main reason for chatting to you today is to, I guess, get an insight into who you are, I guess, to share with the people in Australia who'd come to ArchiCon, who Jared Banks is and shoe name, and all the exciting things that you do, so they actually get an understanding of who you are. But Jared, I guess just to start with, mate, for all the Aussies out here that actually aren't familiar with your story, and I'm surprised that, you know, an ArchiCAD user that doesn't need a story really has been living under a rock. But how about you explain a little bit about yourself?
So I've been using ArchiCAD for years, and like most or many ArchiCAD users, I learned by going to the forum and typing in questions and watching over other people's shoulders. But when I was a young user of ArchiCAD back in 2006, I didn't know anyone outside of the firm I worked at. Like, I didn't know, I don't think I'd heard the name ArchiCAD before, and I didn't know of any other firms in town that used it. And then I was asked to speak at the local AIA office about BIM in residential architecture. I happened to be doing mostly homes at the time. And the other three guys that were on this panel discussion were ArchiCAD users, and I flipped out. I just hadn't met other people that used this program before, and I was super excited. So I was like, we should get together, and we should have a user group, and we should just, we should share. And everyone was like, yeah, okay, that sounds pretty good. I was like, no, we're going to do this. And so after this event, I think I talked to our local reseller and started getting people's names and organized my first user group. And then I was hooked after that. I think at first I was doing one a month. You know, now most people do like a quarterly user group or maybe an annual one, or do these awesome big events. But at the time I was like, okay, we did one in September. Let's do one in October. Let's do one in December. And I did that for a while. And from running those user groups, I had the opportunity to become the reseller for my local region. I technically wasn't a reseller, I was an agent, but that's just semantics. And so when I did that, I kept on running user groups, and I thought, well, I'm nobody, but I need to let people know who I am if I want to, call someone up and talk about ArchiCAD. So I thought, I'll write about ArchiCAD. I'll do a blog. And so originally, Shoenome, when I started it back in 2010, was just an outlet for me to talk to other ArchiCAD users in Minnesota, which the number of users in Minnesota is pretty small. And as time progressed, I left Minnesota. I stopped being the contact person for Graphisoft in that area, and user base has kind of grown a bit beyond the start, or my little original community. But I found, after writing about ArchiCAD for so long and doing YouTube channels and getting to do some speaking around the US, I just love connecting with ArchiCAD users. Everyone is just wonderful, and it is so great to teach people about the program and get them to share their stories, because I'm an expert, right? I've been doing this for a long time. I write about this. I research about it. But still, you show up to a user group and you start explaining some crazy new tricks, and then someone in the back kind of raises their hand and says, "Well, I do this," and everyone in the room goes silent because it's some crazy trick that no one else has heard of before. So one of the big things I love about meeting other users is just learning from everyone. There's so much knowledge in our community, and it's just not connected. And so that's really what pushes me to do what I do with Shoenome, is to share my knowledge, but also just get everyone else to share the same thing. Like, it goes to the point of your first guest blog post for me. You had these awesome ideas. You're able to share them through Shoenome, and now all this is happening. And I know, and we've talked about this, those original blog posts just like blew my mind, and they've changed so much about how I see ArchiCAD. And if you look at a lot of my writing since those posts, or if you look at some of this, like the videos, what I've been sharing, it's just a whole new world for me too.
The main thing to take from all of this is that, you've built a massive way of communicating with everyone and sharing in terms of, and I think that's something that needs to be driven a lot more, not only through the US and globally, like you have been doing with Shoenome, and the number of hits I think you get on your website are astronomical. But people need to obviously communicate more. The architectural industry, I guess, is a very closed one, in the sense that people, think to themselves, "Oh, I've just come up with an idea. I can't share that because if I share that, I've lost my competitive edge." But the reality is as you just mentioned, you sit in a room and you present to someone, and you've got this great idea that you think you had, but then there's someone there that can add to that, value add, just because of the fact that you shared your process or workflow that you've talked about, just increases its capacity or capabilities twofold just by one little comment from another user. So there's lots of benefits in what you've done, and I think I guess you've probably changed the way that people view ArchiCAD globally, in an unobnoxious way.
I hope so. I think the idea of sharing and communication is spot on. In all of our BIM circles, as we talk about, like, okay, what does BIM do? What does ArchiCAD do? It's about communication, it's about collaboration, it's about sharing, and I've just taken that to heart and taken that to the community. And I have no patience and no time for people who don't want to share. There's I've worked in the past with people who wouldn't want to share things between coworkers because it was their detail. This isn't right. If you have a good detail, you share it with your coworker because maybe they can make it better. And it's the same way for me with ArchiCAD. Is I will share every scrap of knowledge and every one of my secrets possible, because if that gets someone who's listening to me to respond and help me make those tricks better, then I can inspire someone, and in turn they can inspire me back. So I'm all about sharing, and again, that's why I love the idea of getting these conferences together and getting just a collection of ArchiCAD users together, because we have so many things as architects that are going against us, right? There's we never have enough time, we never have enough money. Our clients have crazy demands. The litigious nature of the building industry means everyone around a table is always a little cautious, and as architects, we're even against other architects because there's a limited number of clients. So you want to be friends with other architects because we all have similar interests, but they might steal the project you want, and whatever. I don't have time for that, right? I'm just gonna help everyone. That's what I want to do. Like, if I make you a better architect and you steal all my work because you're a better architect, that's awesome. But I hope if I teach you something, that in turn that will make me, even better at my job. But again, I'm I'm just thrilled to see architects and anyone who buys into BIM and ArchiCAD do well. And I've not once in my almost 5 years of doing this, not once have I seen something where I've given away or helped someone or, kind of been over generous with my time or with my knowledge. I've never seen that once come back and bite me. It's always, it just always comes back with good, right? So it's kind of like endless ArchiCAD karma. So.
In your presentation, we haven't sat down and resolved exactly what it's about yet, but what would you expect someone to take away from something that you'd stand up and talk about? Or, what's the one takeaway that you'd hope that the attendees from ARCHICON get from listening to you speak?
That's a tough one, because again, we haven't figured out exactly what I want to talk about, because there's so many aspects about this program that I love and I'm happy to talk about. But if we step back from everything and we go back to some conversations that we've all had with each other and with bosses and with clients, it comes back to beauty. We do all these amazing things with ArchiCAD. We geek out to how much we can automate it and how much we can just add intelligence and make these super smart models that can be pushed out to all these programs and do amazing things. But at the end of the day, we also really care about beauty, both of the design of the thing that's going to get built, but also about the documentation, whether that documentation is 2D or 3D or 1,000,000D or 1D or whatever it is. We always want to come back to beauty. And I hope that whatever my presentation is about, it's also going to involve that aspect. So if we're talking about building materials and how we can do crazy things with that, we better be able to come around and say, we can do all this amazing stuff, and guess what? This is also going to be the most beautiful model or section or elevation or detail you've ever done. Because all this intelligence, as it supports all these other high-level things, side benefit, pretty. So I hope in the conversation that we have or the lecture I give, people come out energized about all the great things ArchiCAD can do, but also leave inspired that they can go back and share with their coworkers, here's some just beauty that we can also get out of it. So.
To top it off, that's my little quirk question for all of my presenters. What would be your favorite ArchiCAD tool?
Well, are we going to get semantics? Do you mean tool as in like window tool, door tool, or you mean ArchiCAD feature, right?
Take your pick. You can take it.
I'm going to. I don't know. I'll probably steal yours, but it's building materials. When building materials were introduced in ArchiCAD 17, we're all like, okay, I guess these are neat. But there was also a lot of hesitance because it was a big change, but we didn't understand how big of a change it was. But every day that I work in a project with building materials and get to understand them more, and I think back to your early posts about this, that is the coolest thing in ArchiCAD, and it's also, I think, one of the most important aspects of the program. And the simple reasoning, or there's a lot of reasoning, but a simple example of it is we look at building materials and we see it as a way to make things more real, to get sections that are going to, all the things are going to come together and work perfectly. We're going to get quantity takeoffs, which are better, like all these things they talk about. But the other aspect, to go back to my comment about beauty, is building materials have made my drawings, so much nicer. And not only have they made them more beautiful and more consistent across the whole project, they've automated that beauty. And I really, really geek out to that. I can make a really, really nice section, and it's all just automated. Not just how things go together, but just the graphics. And you can really push the graphics through building materials. And right, building materials are so much more important than graphics. But if you look at those things as nothing else than these magic attribute, which spits out pretty images, it's a world of difference between ArchiCAD 16 and 17 and 18 and whatever comes after 18.
It's only the beginning. I kind of see building materials as the spine to the whole ecosystem. But you know, we'll wait and see what Graphisoft have in store for us over the next couple of years. But
yeah.
Jared, thanks very much for your time today. I'm really excited to see how things develop over the next 6 months, and how I guess the value of having you out here for ARCHICON on the 22nd of May next year. And it'll be an exciting day, and I really look forward to seeing your presentation. Thanks very much for your time.
Well, thanks. I can't wait.